Hello and welcome. Today I'll be going over the results of my vulnerability scans using three important tools: Nikto, OWASP-ZAP, and Nessus. With Kali Linux as the attacker machine, I scan an intentionally vulnerable system, the Kyatrix 2 virtual machine. This lab focuses on network enumeration, identifying vulnerabilities, and analyzing how and why those vulnerabilities exist. My setup is designed to include three virtual machines: Kali, Kyatrix, and Metasploitable for testing purposes. Kali Linux was used to run all the scanning tools. The main goal was to identify open ports, scan for known security flaws, and use that data to hypothesize potential attack vectors and root causes. Before getting to the main tools, I used Nmap for network enumeration, which identifies open ports and running services. The scan showed several open ports including 22.80.443 and 3306. The versions detected were Apache 2.052, OpenSSH 3.9p1, and Linux 2.6 kernel. Also, SSL v2 was supported, which is very insecure. These results point out to outdated software, which is a major risk factor. Next, I ran Nikto, a web-based scanner. Nikto found several vulnerabilities. The server runs PHP 4.3.9, which is outdated. The trace method is enabled, opening the server to cross-site tracing XST. Directory listing is turned on in multiple folders. Apache default files like icons, readme are exposed. These issues expose the server and can allow hackers to attack or retrieve unintended data. On an OWASP-ZAP scan, I discovered that anti-CSRF tokens were missing, and security headers like content security policy and expired by were exposed. These are typical signs of potential vulnerabilities. While OWASP-ZAP scans applications, Nikto focuses more on the web server itself. ZAP can detect interactive flaws like CSRF and XSS, while Nikto is great for quick scans of misconfigured or outdated services. Of course, both tools work best when used together. Next, I use Nessus, which is a full system vulnerability scan. Nessus flagged PHP 4.3.9 as unsupported and identified remote code execution vulnerabilities and several CGI scripts. These vulnerabilities are especially dangerous because they could allow an attacker to run arbitrary code on the system. Nessus pretty much helped confirm and extend what Nikto found. From the three vulnerability scanners, I was able to identify more than 10 significant vulnerabilities. These include outdated OpenSSH, Apache with known exploits, SSLv2 protocol enabled, MySQL servers open, unsupported PHP, trace method enabled, directory indexing exposed, missing CSRF tokens, and many others. Each of these opens the system to specific types of attacks. Using the flaw hypothesis methodology, these vulnerabilities exist due to no system patching, default configurations left unchanged, poor web app coding practices. For example, Apache 2.0.52 is known to be vulnerable to buffer overflow and denial of service attacks. This version hasn't been supported in a while. It's showing here because it's an intentional vulnerable lab setup, but in a real-world scenario, it would be considered a serious red flag. It's important to follow responsible disclosure when you find vulnerabilities. That means reporting issues privately and giving the vendor or developer time to patch, which is usually about 90 days. Typically, disclosure should only happen when there is no response or vulnerability is actively being exploited. Ethically speaking, the goal is to protect users without giving attackers more time or information than necessary. If, if handled incorrectly, even well-intended disclosures can put an individual or organizations at risk. Special thank yous to those who made this presentation possible. In closing, I use Nmap, Nikto, Allswap Zap, and Nessus to discover vulnerabilities at both the system and application levels. By combining different tools, I was able to identify issues from outdated software, insecure services, and many others. This lab taught me different ways to analyze vulnerabilities, trace them back to their root causes, and think through how attackers might exploit them. Thank you for listening. Any questions?